I'll just start by introducing the panel. I see Ambassador Masood Khan just joining us, and I'll just wait for him to come on stage, sir. Welcome, sir. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Murtaza Syed, Acting Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, as part of this panel. Dr. Saab is an eminent research scholar as well as macroeconomic researcher. His prior to joining State Bank, he was with IMF for 16 years. He joined as Deputy Governor, State Bank. Dr. Saab, thank you very much for taking the time out, especially due to the time difference. I know it's quite late in Karachi, and so we are especially thankful for you and your team to be part of this panel. Also on stage is Ambassador Masood Khan, who has just joined us. He is the Pakistani ambassador in Washington, a distinguished diplomat, has served as ambassador to China and as the Pakistan permanent rep to the UN in New York. He has joined us, the panel. Along with him is Ambassador Jalil Abbas Jalani, another distinguished diplomat who has been in the service of Pakistan since 1979. He has remained the ambassador to the US as well as to India. And we are especially proud that Ambassador Jalani is advising the Bank of Punjab on diaspora Pakistani issues and problems, and we value his contribution. In fact, it is due to his efforts that we are here today hosting this session. Also on stage is Mr. Zishan Shah Saab, who is the Ambassador at Large for Investments, for promoting foreign investment in Pakistan. Thank you very much, Zishan Saab. So we'll start the proceedings by asking Dr. Murtaza Syed to give us an overview and his remarks on the state of economy in Pakistan, with special focus towards the investment opportunities. And may I also request Dr. Saab to talk and dilate upon any other important item which you think worthy of sharing with our distinguished participants here, as well as all those who are joining us online through our Facebook live streaming. So over to you, Dr. Saab.
Thank you very much, Nofel. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. His Excellency Masood Khan Saab, whom I know very well from my days in China as well as in the US. His Excellency Mr. Jalil Abbas Jalani, whom I also recall from my days in DC. Zafar Masood Saab. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a great pleasure and an honor to be addressing you as part of the APPNA annual convention. I used to be an overseas Pakistani myself until 2.5 years ago when I came back to join the State Bank. And I know what a wonderful organization APPNA is. And I really appreciate APPNA and the Bank of Punjab for helping us be part of your annual convention today. What I'd like to do is actually spend about 10 or 15 minutes running through a narrative that I think is very important to keep in mind when one thinks about Pakistan. I hope that my screen is visible to everybody, including the people in the hall, but I will take about 15 minutes to tell you a little bit of a story. And I think it's important to tell the Pakistan story right, especially the story of the last 2 years, and also where we see ourselves going in the next 3 to 5 years. So that's what my talk will cover. But I will begin, if you allow me, just by talking about the Roshan digital account for a minute. The Roshan digital account, as I hope many of you are aware, is a special account that overseas Pakistanis can open in 14 banks, any one of 14 banks in Pakistan, including the Bank of Punjab. It was started about 2 years ago. It's an initiative of the State Bank. And I'm very happy to report that in those 2 years, 175 different countries, overseas Pakistanis residing in those countries, have opened accounts in Pakistan. We have over 433,000 accounts now opened, and $4.7 billion have been deposited into Pakistan through those accounts. Just to put that $4.7 billion into perspective, that is more money than the Pakistan Banao certificate that was started a few years ago was able to generate. That was able to generate about 72 million rupees. It is also more money than has come into the country through foreign direct investment over the same period. which was $3.2 billion. And the last bar, it is even more money than the IMF has given us over the same period, which is a little bit over $3 billion. So just putting the Roshan digital account into perspective, it has generated significant money into Pakistan. And as you know, Pakistan relies a lot on foreign exchange from our overseas Pakistanis. We are very grateful to our overseas Pakistanis for having helped us make Roshan digital account a success, and also seeing it through this political transition that we have had in Pakistan. Despite the fact that we have had a change in the political government in the last couple of months, we are still seeing very strong inflows into Roshan digital account, which shows the faith that overseas Pakistanis have this. And I will remind you that this is a state bank initiative, one that is apolitical and has no affiliation with any one particular government and is there to serve the overseas Pakistanis. Very quickly, the Roshan digital account allows you to open a bank account in Pakistan totally digitally. In 48 hours, you can have a bank account in Pakistan. You can operate it digitally, and you can repatriate your money anytime. And it has a lot of features that I won't go through, but it allows you a lifestyle suite of products in Pakistan. You can do anything that you would normally do with a bank account. You can pay bills, you can invest in stocks, you can get a car for your family. You can invest in something called the NAYA Pakistan certificate, which offers you very good risk-free returns, both in dollars as well as euros, Great British pounds, or in Pakistani rupees. You can buy property. I know as an overseas Pakistani not long ago that buying a property, selling a property in Pakistan, one of the issues we used to have was taxation. The other issue you used to have was the ability to take the money out once you sold the property. With the Roshan digital account, if you buy the property that way, you can remit your money anytime once you sell the property. And there is a very simple taxation structure that we've been able to come to devise around the Roshan APPNA Ghar. I would encourage you to go to the website of Roshan digital account through the State Bank website, and you'll get a lot of information. And finally, you can also give charity through Roshan Samaji Khidmat. So a real, I think, wide variety of things you can do with the Roshan digital account. So I wanted to start with that. But now I want to talk a little bit about the economy, the story of the last 2 years, and where we go from here. And I want to start 2 years ago with COVID. What we show you here is the daily cases of COVID per million in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, and globally. Globally, you see it in the red line. Pakistan is in the green line. And you can see that like other parts of the world, Pakistan has also undergone through various waves of COVID. But unlike the rest of the world, Pakistan's line, the green line, is barely visible because unlike the rest of the world, which had a very bad COVID in terms of the health consequences, Pakistan has actually been very fortunate and has taken the right steps, both in terms of containing the health pandemic and also in terms of the economic policies. So we have actually been able to contain the cases of COVID in Pakistan in a way that should give us a lot of confidence about where we go from here. As I say, look at Pakistan's green line, barely visible. Look at India's line in black. Look at the world line in red. Look at Bangladesh's line in purple. Pakistan has done better through the successive waves, way better than any other regional comparator or global comparator. At the same time, the government, the way it responded to COVID on the economic side was very, very wise, prudent. Basically, expenditure was reallocated towards the most vulnerable households. You can see on the left-hand side, about 46% of households got emergency cash payments under the ESAS program, or what is now known as the BISP program. The name doesn't really matter. What does matter is that this program is globally recognized as having been very successful, reached a wide variety of the population, and provided very timely assistance to those most in need. On the right-hand side, you can see that each of these households got about 12,000 rupees, which can mean the difference between life and death when a shock like Corona hits. At the same time, at the State Bank, we had much more space. We did a lot of things. I won't go through this chart in detail, but all told, we injected about 2 trillion rupees into the system through reductions in the interest rate and also through very innovative schemes to protect jobs, to provide cheap financing to hospitals to invest in equipment to fight COVID-19, and also in schemes that encouraged investment in Pakistan. So both on the ministry side, the government side, as well as the state bank side, a very nice coordinated response. And you can see the results in this chart. This chart shows you the shock that went through the global system when COVID hit, how much global growth fell in 2020. And you can see that in Pakistan's case, which is the red bar, our economy contracted only by 1 percentage point. Compare that to the average for advanced economies, about 4.5 percentage points, and other economies to the right-hand side of Pakistan had a much more severe COVID than Pakistan did, because we were able to control the health side, and we were also able to give a good economic response, as I just showed you. Secondly, look at the growth rebound in Pakistan. Again, Pakistan is the red bar. We have had a very good and strong rebound from COVID. After contracting by 1% in 2020, we have grown by 6% in 2021 and 2022. That is much better again than many countries in the world. Moreover, one of Pakistan's problems tends to be that our public debt to GDP ratio tends to become high whenever there's a global shock. But in Pakistan's case, again, the red bar, we are one of the few countries in the world where the public debt to GDP ratio has actually fallen through COVID. In Pakistan's case, it fell by through 3.2% of GDP. In most other parts of the world, it actually went up significantly. You can see that the average for advanced economies was an increase in public debt to GDP ratio of about 16 percentage points. For emerging markets, about 11 percentage points. Pakistan actually manages to reduce its public debt to GDP ratio through COVID, a very, very unique and creditable outcome. Another problem that Pakistan typically has is our foreign exchange reserves. Just take a look at the red dot, because I think that is a good indication of where our reserves are. And you can see that at the end of June 2019, basically we had negative reserves. That is a very bad situation for any country to be in. At the end of December 2021, the beginning of this year, that's the middle bar, we were at around $13 billion net. And today we're at about $5 or $6 billion net, not where we would ideally like to be, but still in a much better situation than we were in June 2019, which is the first bar. What are the problems that Pakistan is facing now? One major problem is inflation. And we are showing you here that inflation, the last month, we had a reading of 21.3% headline inflation in Pakistan, core inflation in yellow, energy inflation in blue, food inflation in green are all unfortunately going up in Pakistan. And our focus right now at the central bank is to try to bring this inflation down. What you also know, of course, living in the US, is that inflation is right now a global phenomenon. Look at the left-hand side chart. You're seeing that oil prices, food prices, gas prices have all really been rising very, very fast over the last 18 months. In the middle panel, you can see that inflation has become a global phenomenon. About 75% of emerging markets and 75% of advanced economies today have inflation above 5%, which is a very high number for global average. And on the right-hand side, you can see that this is beginning to infect many, many items. It's not just a few items where inflation is high, it's actually occurring across items across the world. So my point is that Pakistan is not alone in facing this global inflation issue, but the state bank is now focused on trying to bring that under control. The other problem we have in Pakistan is our current account deficit has also gone up. We are showing you in the bars here, the red bars, Pakistan's current account deficit. You can see that for the last year or so, the numbers have been getting bigger. The last 3 months, we've been bringing it under control. And it has been moving up, the current account deficit, in line with that blue line, which is the commodity price index in the world. So as global commodity prices have gone up, Pakistan's current account deficit has also gone up, because about a third of our imports are actually oil. And oil prices, as you know, living in the US, have been going through the roof in the last 5 or 6 months. One other thing that has happened as our current account deficit has become bigger is that our currency has actually been falling. But as I'm showing you here, if you look at how much our currency has fallen since we started this move to a flexible exchange rate system, which is fundamentally a better system for managing your foreign exchange, Pakistan's currency has fallen by about 25% in the last 3 years. If you compare that across emerging markets, you see it's not very different from what has happened to most other emerging market currencies. They've also fallen in this sort of 30 to 20% range, most of them, because one of the big stories we are seeing right now is that globally, the US dollar is becoming very strong. because as the Federal Reserve is tightening, of course, the dollar is is appreciating, and therefore part of what's happening with the rupee is a global phenomenon with the dollar strengthening. A lot of people, unfortunately, are looking at Pakistan and drawing comparisons with Sri Lanka. I wanted to show you in the next couple of slides that Pakistan is not on the same path as Sri Lanka. First of all, we have an IMF program. Sri Lanka does not have one. That takes the worst outcomes off the table. Secondly, in terms of how we've been managing our economy, it's been very different from Sri Lanka. What I'm showing you here is on the left-hand side, Pakistan, right-hand side, Sri Lanka. The dotted line in both cases is the time when the foreign exchange reserves of both countries start to come under pressure. In Pakistan's case, you can see the top left-hand side chart. We begin to raise our interest rates almost as soon as we start to see pressure on reserves. And our currency, which is the bottom chart, left-hand chart, also starts to depreciate as soon as we have pressures on our reserves. Contrast that with Sri Lanka. Again, the dotted line for Sri Lanka is when they start having pressure on the reserves. They take a full 2 years before they start to raise interest rates. They take a full 2 years before they allow the exchange rate to move. This was not a good way to handle the economy. Our best wishes are with our Sri Lankan brothers and sisters. They're going through a horrible humanitarian crisis, but unfortunately, part of it was man-made. There were policy mistakes that were done. In Pakistan, we are avoiding those. And most importantly, we are with the IMF. Another way to think about the difference between Pakistan and Sri Lanka, look at how we've been managing our fiscal finances. And in particular, take a look at the light blue bars in these charts. The light blue bars is the primary balance. It basically means the difference between revenue and expenditure of the government minus interest. The reason you take interest out is because interest is non-discretionary spending. So this gives you a good sense of how the fiscal finances are being managed. In Pakistan's case, the primary balance has been between 1.5% to 2% over the last 3 years. In Sri Lanka's case, it's been between 3 and 6% of GDP. So a much worse fiscal outcome than in Pakistan's case. This is a bit of a complicated chart, but basically the bottom line here is that Pakistan over the next 12 months will need $35 billion of foreign exchange to meet its current account deficit and also the debt that's coming due externally. And on the right-hand side, you can see that because of the IMF program, we will have more than enough money to be able to cover our finances. This means that Pakistan is on the right track. We are not going to have a problem like Sri Lanka as long as we keep our policies focused the way that we did in COVID and the way that we've been managing our economy in the recent months. Let me end with a few slides just to show you the hope in Pakistan, the next 3 to 5 years. First of all, notice that Pakistan is a very young population. We are the 5th largest country in the world. About 2/3 of our population is below the age of 30. That means that we have a young, hungry population, wants to connect with the rest of the world, and has a lot of demands in terms of things it wants to spend money on. Some other important statistics for you to keep in mind: Pakistan literacy is going up. About 60% of our population is literate. About 1/3 of our population is urban. About 1/3 of our population have bank accounts, and about 80% of our population have cell phones today. So this means that we are getting increasingly connected, increasingly more literate. And as we go forward the next 3 to 5 years, this will be a big part of the story in Pakistan. The other big part you have to remember is that Pakistan has a very large working age population. This means we have cheap labor. And going forward, we will actually, in the next 10 years or so, add another 36 million people to our labor force. If we use them well, this is equivalent to Canada's total population. This can be a very good source for Pakistan to be able to provide cheap labor for the needs of the world. Another important thing to keep in mind is Pakistan has a large and growing middle class. We are a large population. Between now and 2030, our middle class is estimated to grow by almost 60 million. This is equivalent to the total size of Italy and is going to be one of the highest increases in the middle class globally. You can see that Pakistan does very well if you compare it to a bunch of other countries in terms of how fast the middle class will inshallah grow over the next 10 years. Our GDP per capita, our spending power is also growing. In the next 5 years, it is estimated that our purchasing power in dollars will go up by 15%. It will mean people will have even more money to spend on goods and services. Let me end with just 3 sectors that I want to highlight. First of all is IT. IT is a very fast growing sector in Pakistan. We have a lot of young people that are hungry to be able to capitalize on this opportunity. On the right hand side, you can see that our IT exports have grown a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. Today, they're about $2.5 billion, a big amount for Pakistan. And on the left hand side, these are the kind of things that the State Bank has been doing to facilitate the IT industry. I don't want to go into details, but I think that the IT export industry is going to be something to really watch out for. The tech space in Pakistan, the startup space is very exciting. Another thing that's exciting is, of course, the Roshan digital account that I told you about at the beginning, and also our efforts to digitize the financial system. We are going to be giving licenses to some digital banks in Pakistan. We hope that that will improve financial inclusion and financial intermediation. We have great hopes attached to this initiative as well. And finally, in terms of renewable space, that's another sector that you should keep in mind as Pakistanis living abroad. Renewables is going to be a feature of where Pakistan goes to meet its energy needs in the next few years. There was a huge tree plantation scheme started by the previous government, but also there's a commitment, I think, across the political spectrum to making Pakistan's energy needs much more clean going forward. So let me end it there just with one final message. It is, of course, important to remain very cautious in terms of how we manage our economy in the next 12 months, which is going to be a very difficult time globally. But beyond that, Pakistan has many things going for it. And as overseas Pakistanis, I really hope that you can be part of that journey with us through the Roshan digital account, but also through other investment opportunities that will invariably come in Pakistan between now and 2030. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll hand it back to our moderator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for giving us an overview of the economy in a very brief period of time. And I understand that some very relevant and critical aspects were elaborated by you. And I am also confident that in the question answer sessions, there will be many questions by the audience directed to you, and we await your responses on those. Picking up from where Dr. Saab has left, let me just run you through a quick presentation on the Roshan digital account and a few investment opportunities that the Bank of Punjab has brought on the table. As you may know, that we are probably one of the first banks who have actually ventured out of Pakistan offshore and are physically present in the US. And one key objective is to have a face-to-face, one-on-one interaction with all of you to communicate the actual USP and the essence of what Roshan digital account is, and what is the NAYA Pakistan certificate, and how this is probably one of the best financial instruments product available to retail investors. But at the same time, we're also bringing some other sectors on the table, as Dr. Saab mentioned about ICT. So we prepared this deck. What I will request all of you that after this presentation, we have a stall upstairs. You've seen that VOP stall. Myself and our team is present, so we'll welcome all of you over at the stall for a more detailed conversation. But starting with the deck, let me just share it with you. So the investment opportunity horizon obviously starts with the overall economic scenario, which has been very ably explained by Dr. Murtaza, so I will not spend too much time on it. He has also elaborated upon the Roshan digital account key features. So again, thank you, Dr. for listening my job. But what I would want to talk about is how Bank of Punjab has tailored this product and actually added more value added services to the Roshan digital account. And because of that, the offering that we are giving is significantly better than that of the market. So let me draw your attention towards the slide, which is now on the screen, and just highlight 3 or 4 critical USPs, which are special to the BOP RDA. So first, our product is the first fully free Roshan digital account which we are offering to the market. We do not charge any cost to the customer, which includes production and dispatching the debit card to your home, as well as checkbooks, and no other charges. All the charges are borne by the bank to encourage you to open the account and use this account. You also see on the top row a Khas emblem. This is Bank of Punjab's priority segment offering to our customers. And as I will later show, and I will disclose right now, that for all APPNA members, we are offering premium banking services free of cost to all of you. So if you choose to open Roshan digital account with us, you will automatically qualify as a Khas premium banking. There are some very exciting add-ons and free value add-ons attached to that, and I'll just quickly take you through towards that. Third one is the debit card you see on the second row, right hand side. So we were the first bank in Pakistan to have a vertical debit card launched, and with the Khas offering, this also comes, and it's got some special features which we have negotiated with our associate MasterCard. You've got airport access, lounges access across the world, and discounts and other alliances going forward. And one thing which I'm very particularly proud of, and as a team all of us are, is that we have gone a bit further in sharing a product for our RDA customers. It's called the Roshan Samaji Khidmat product. And that's a product in which we as a bank are matching rupee to rupee your donations to your charities or NGOs of your own choices. So if you open an account, we've got this product, you can allocate, sorry, so what we can do is we allocate your donation rupee by rupee, and there it is. So the Roshan Samaji Khidmat and the Sadka Jariya product, which I'm talking about, is a very interesting product which very few banks are offering, and we are especially proud of that. I would also like to talk about the NAYA Pakistan certificates in slight detail, because I think it's a very important product, and you should, and I hope that you get interested in it. It's offering as high as 6.5% return on US dollar paper for 12 months, and for longer tenor paper, it's even higher. And some of the key features which makes this product more attractive to a retail investor is that it comes in different tenors. So depending on your own liquidity requirements and your investment horizon, you can invest in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or even as long as 5 years. It is available both in the Sharia compliant version as well. So if you choose to invest in the Sharia compliant products, the NAYA Pakistan certificate is also available in it. Dr. Saab mentioned about a very simple taxation regime. It is the same for the NAYA Pakistan certificate as well. Just a 10% withholding tax, no need to file a return in Pakistan. You can repatriate your principal and profit at a click of your button. Or if you so choose to open a BOP RDO account, you can operate it through your mobile phone or through your app. So NAYA Pakistan certificate is a product which is very exciting, and almost $3 billion have been invested already by retail customers. Dr. was showing almost 430,000 customers, Pakistanis across the world, have opened these accounts. So this is very interesting. Moving forward, I want to talk about Roshan Apna Ghar and Roshan Apni Car. So these two again are concessionary products with lower interest rates available to the RDA customers, where they can, while sitting here in the US, purchase house through mortgage or purchase a car through car loan. Completely digital. Roshan Samaji Khidmat I already talked about, and within Samaji Khidmat I talked about Sadka Jariya product. And I also told you about the BOP Khas offering. I'll just take a few seconds here to dilate upon some of the offerings. So our Khas customers, which would be you, potentially would get a dedicated relationship manager sitting in Lahore, who will be in touch with you. The exclusive card benefits I've spoken about. The call center, you get a priority service. And there is a very exciting service called InstaKin, using which you can get your household chores in Pakistan done free of cost. So we're offering this service free of cost to our Khas customers. Globally, almost 40,000 Pakistanis are using the InstaKin services. Some snapshots of our Khas branches and lounges, which we have started to open very recently. I welcome and encourage you in your next visit to Pakistan to visit one of those lounges, and we'll be very happy to serve you there as well. One thing now I want to put on the table, apart from the NPC, is that we keep on striving to create uniqueness in our product offering. For example, in this slide, what we have done is we have negotiated with our partners and gotten remittances coming to Pakistan in euro free of cost. And even for dollar remittances, if our customers choose this corresponding bank, it's a subsidized rate. So we are negotiating with more such correspondent banks as well. And the intent is to make sending money and sending remittance to Pakistan as free as possible. These are some of the partners that we have. Okay, this is the portion where I would like now to point out a few exciting sectors. So healthcare sector, let me just put the slide back, Ji. The healthcare sector, of which you are most distinguished members, offers very exciting opportunity in Pakistan, be it in establishing medical colleges or universities, nursing schools, hospitals, primary, tertiary care units, and so on and so forth. The Pakistani population tree, which Dr. Saab took you through, is a clear indication of the latent and patent demand which is still unmet in Pakistan of the entire healthcare provision. So that's a very exciting opportunity which we have brought on the table. Associated with it is the pharmaceutical opportunity. In Pakistan, there is a thriving pharma industry which has more than 600 units in Pakistan and with a turnover of more than 615 billion rupees. It's a very attractive sector with high margins. Again, demand is almost inelastic based on the population growth. 80% of the requirements are being met locally, but when opportunity is actually the active ingredient manufacturing is where some good opportunity lies. If that can be identified as a space, I think it's a very attractive proposition. Another sector which holds attraction, obviously, is the diagnostic and labs. So in Pakistan, over the last 3 years, and especially since the advent of COVID, there has been a plethora of labs and diagnostic centers being opened up primarily for COVID, but now also graduating into more complicated CT scans and X-ray machines and so on and so forth. So this entire health landscape presents a very attractive proposition given some of the demand factors that both Dr. Saab and I have mentioned here. What can BOP offer to you with regards to this? But before I went that, I'll just want to identify our good old friend, the real estate sector as well. I'm confident that many of you are aware of the great attraction that real estate has in Pakistan and maybe also participated in it. But the question arises that if the healthcare and the real estate sectors, and in addition to that, the IT sector, which Dr. Saab had mentioned, are such sectors of great growth, then what does BOP bring on the table? So here it is. What we bring on the table through our corporate banking and through our investment banking group are some of the financial advisories and structural making facilities to you. So be it in terms of preparing financial feasibility for a product, a bankable study, or risk allocation due diligence, or even trying to identify reputable and suitable local partners and helping out in the regulation. Our advisory role in these transactions is very, very strong. So that's one part of it. On the other part, once the projects are identified and the feasibility done, then they need to be put to a financial close. Here our ECM, our equity desk, and our debt capital market desk are very strong. We are one of the leading banks in Pakistan in syndication, which help you raise debt if you so choose so, or raise equity if that should be your desire. So what we are offering, and like I said, I would welcome a more one-on-one interaction with many of you as well on this, that if you are interested in investing in Pakistan in these sectors, then these are our priority sectors as well, as shown in the slide on the top right side, that healthcare, roads, water supply, housing, buildings, power and transportation are sectors where BOP has some special strengths. So we can help you and we can advise you in making those decisions. So this, ladies and gentlemen, was part of the RDA NAYA Pakistan product, as well as a few introduction to a few exciting sectors which I brought on the table. And if you have any questions, then we will have those at the end of the session. In the interest of time, I will close my presentation here. And may I request Zishan Shah Saab, who is the ambassador at large for investments, to give us his remarks on how he sees the investment opportunity in Pakistan, himself being a British Pakistani expat. So Zishan Saab, may I request you?
Thank you very much. It's been very informative. And I'd like to start with saying thank you to the Bank of Punjab for hosting this session, and Zafar Masood Saab, the CEO, for bringing everyone together over here. It's great to see the bank promoting Roshan Digital, which is one of the most successful financial programs currently in Pakistan. And it's with the support of the overseas Pakistani diaspora that it has been such a milestone, and as you saw in the data earlier, has exceeded the inward flow of even the IMF program. So as the overseas Pakistani diaspora, you really should have a round of applause for yourselves and the support that you continue to give Pakistan. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Ambassador Masood Khan Saab and former Ambassador Jilani Saab, who are here with me on the panel. It's an honor to be amongst you here today. My role as the ambassador at large on investment is to facilitate investment in Pakistan with a core goal of creating jobs and providing a conducive environment for the youth of Pakistan, which is over 150 million under the age of 30 and growing, have a platform for them to flourish. Investments highlighted by the Bank of Punjab representatives earlier, Naufal Saab, are just a small preview into the abundance of opportunities Pakistan presents. The healthcare sector alone is one of the huge growth areas, and I'm sure one of interest to many of you over here as medical professionals. Within my role, we have joint venture facilitation. Currently, the National University of Science and Technology has a hospital which they have zoned. They're looking for a joint venture partner on, which is a university and hospital of 505 beds. Apart from that, the sector's IT, as we all know, is booming in Pakistan. We are having more than 10,000 graduates every single year specialized in IT skills, and it is a sector that is showing double-digit year-on-year growth. Many companies from the UK, from the US in particular, are now moving their outsourcing to Pakistan and hiring the best talent Pakistan has, giving young people in Pakistan jobs and an opportunity to grow. The tourism sector, we had 12 million plus people visit the northern areas of Pakistan last year. There's a huge opportunity over there. As the government, we are privatizing or leasing a number of dozens of prime sites we have across the northern areas. The experienced investors in the United States, I know the diaspora over here is very experienced in the hospitality sector as well. You should come there, invest in these sites, develop them, take a lease from the government, build a dream resort in Pakistan with the Bank of Punjab as your partner, with financing, with debt and equity as they suggested. And my office is here to facilitate you, to remove any roadblocks and ensure that it can be done in a smooth and transparent manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zishan Saab. May I now request Ambassador Masood Khan, sir, for your comments, giving a special context of the Pakistani-American perspective. So over to you, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Zafar Masood, President and CEO of Bank of Punjab, Mr. Jalil Abbas Jilani, former Foreign Secretary, Dr. Murtaza Sayed, I can see you on screen. Greetings from Atlantic City, and thank you so much for this very comprehensive presentation that you made. And Mr. Nofal Dawood, Chief of Staff and Strategy, Bank of Punjab. I think that, have I missed anybody? Mr. Zishan Shah, and the audience who are present here today. My presentation would be very brief. What I want to say is that there is a new ecosystem in Pakistan for investment, and you must take advantage of it, Pakistani Americans. Their numbers are increasing. I think according to the statistics, your number should be somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million. And most of you are professionals. Your income percentiles are very high. You have excess capacity to invest back in Pakistan. The one thing that I want to make, and I mean, you're successful here, but I think that all of you are imbued with this passion to go back to Pakistan and invest there. The second thing that I want to say is that Pakistan's market is becoming much more hospitable for foreign direct investment. This is because of a number of factors. I mean, some of the factors which have been enumerated by the Governor State Bank. And they are the population, I mean, the very size of the population, the growing middle class, the broadband subscribers that we have, the digitization of the economy. So all these factors, when aggregated, create a new environment for absorbing investment from abroad. The biggest success that we've had in the recent past is in the tech sector. The tech sector has earned about $800 million in the past 18 months, and there would be exponential growth in this sector. Many of Pakistani Americans and many entrepreneurs of the diaspora community from the United Kingdom, the Middle East, also the Far East, they are investing back in Pakistan. And I used an expression in another setting a short while ago. This phenomenon is called Wapistan or Wapistanis, the ones who are going back to Pakistan because of their love for Pakistan, also because they see profits in Pakistan. I can go into details, but briefly I'll tell you that venture capital global venture capital is getting interested in Pakistani market because it is becoming very, very lucrative for them. And this market would not be confined only to Pakistan because of the strategic location of Pakistan. The products and the product lines that would be put on the market, they would be available to the people in the Middle East, North Africa, Central Asia, West Asia, and as far as Southeast Asia. So this is the time to invest in Pakistan. The last point that I want to make is that you need not worry about the change in government. There is continuity in policies. There are no differences of opinion in regard to our industrial policy, our agricultural policy, our support to the tech sector. In this very context, you must witness today that the Bank of Punjab is marketing or creating awareness about global digital account, Roshan digital account. So this is a legacy from the previous government, and it has been owned by the present government, and it has been given full support. Why? Because of its utility, and because it creates connectivity between the diaspora community and the investment landscape back home. So I would say that take advantage of this unique financial instrument which would give you rich dividends. And here in Washington, D.C., and all the consulates that we have here, we would give you full support. In fact, I have requested the president of the Bank of Punjab that when he goes back, he should send us small messages, video messages, which we can post on social media, WhatsApp groups, and other digital platforms so that we can broadcast and propagate your message and create better awareness about this initiative and generate more investment through this instrument. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your remarks. I believe Minister Ehsan Iqbal is also joining us. But before he did, before we open up the session for questions, may I request Zafar Saab for a small vote of thanks for the participants of the panel. Sir, can I?
जी शुक्रिया नौफल एम्बेसडर मसूद खान साहब, डॉक्टर मुर्तज़ा सैयद साहब, जनाब ज़िशान शाह साहब, नौफल दाऊद साहब, जलील अब्बास जिलानी साहब, और सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी अपना की मैनेजमेंट डॉक्टर हारून दुरानी, डॉक्टर अरशद रिहान, डॉक्टर रिजवान खालिद, for really organizing this tremendously confidence-inspiring annual convention for the 45th time. APPNA is an organization can be emulated across the globe, really. And I think it's really a role model for others, diaspora, Pakistani diaspora to follow. I would like to extend a warm welcome and sincere vote of thanks on behalf of the Bank of Punjab to you all. All attendants here, I hope you found it useful and illuminating. Minister Saab is here, so let's we are concluding. It's really vote of thanks now. But sir, वो आपके लिए है, चेयर लगाइए आप आइए बैठिए. अच्छा जी, I just get to the core. ये तो vote of thanks तो formality थी, आपको गवर्नर स्टेट बैंक ने भी और नौफल ने भी एक प्रेजेंटेशन दे दी, ज़िशान शाह साहब ने अपॉर्चुनिटीज कवर कर ली, मसूद खान साहब ने आपको बताया कि किस तरह फैसिलिटेट हो सकती हैं सारी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स. मेरी सिर्फ गुजारिश आपसे ये है कि देखिए, मेरी काफ़ी इंटरेक्शन रही है आज सारे दिन विद द ग्रुप. थोड़ा सा ऑप्टिमिस्टिक होने की ज़रूरत है. मैंने तो अपनी ज़िंदगी में इसी किस्म का वाक़या मिनिस्टर साहब के साथ भी हुआ है. मेरे पास तो कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है बट टू बी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक अबाउट. थोड़ा सा ये पेसिमिज्म का जो एलिमेंट है, और आज जो गवर्नर स्टेट बैंक ने भी प्रेजेंटेशन की है, उससे आप लोगों को कुछ कॉन्फिडेंस मिलना चाहिए कि देयर आर सर्टेन मेजर्स दैट द गवर्नमेंट इज टेकिंग which are in the right direction. There are humongous opportunities for investments. In terms of facilitation, कुछ लोगों की experiences बड़े negative थे. जो आज सुबह मेरी बात हुई, गालिबन आपको सही local partner नहीं मिले थे, और यहीं पर जो role है वो बैंक ऑफ पंजाब का आपके सामने आता है कि हम वहाँ available होंगे to do the due diligence on your behalf, not just on the project, but also on your potential partners there. So next time when you come to Pakistan, you do not have a bad experience at all. मेरी सिर्फ आपसे इल्तिजा ये है, गुजारिश ये है कि प्लीज़ ऑप्टिमिस्टिक रहें, प्लीज़ चीज़ों को जो है वो एक ब्राइटर लेंस से देखें, और प्लीज़ हैव अ फेथ in organizations like Bank of Punjab and the other banks also, whoever are there, as your local partners for investment in Pakistan. आपने देखा कि हमने अपना के लिए जो है एक स्पेशल ऑफरिंग की है ऑन रोशन डिजिटल अकाउंट, और मैंने आज डॉक्टर दुरानी को ये भी ऑफर किया है कि हम आपके लिए अपना के लिए एक डेडिकेटेड सेपरेट RM बना देंगे, रिलेशनशिप मैनेजर, जो कि आप सबको केटर करेगा फॉर ऑल योर इन्वेस्टमेंट रिक्वायरमेंट्स इन पाकिस्तान। सो बहुत शुक्रिया आप सबके आने का, आप लोग के पेशेंस का बहुत शुक्रिया। अपॉलॉजीज, हमारा थोड़ा इवेंट देर से स्टार्ट हुआ बिकॉज हॉल खाली नहीं था, बट नेवरदलेस वी आर हियर टू आंसर एनी क्वेश्चंस दैट यू मे हैव। आई डोंट नो इफ यू
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are closing the investment session. So just give me this opportunity to thank the panelists and especially the State Bank Governor, who has been very patiently with us at a very dead night in Karachi. So thank you very much, sir, for your participation. And I appreciate and thank all the other panelists who have joined us. And I also thank all the attendees of this session. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.